I was approached when I was about 14. It was just by sheer coincidence because I was spotted by a what would they call them? They were back then they weren't a charity, but there were two physiotherapists who worked for a school, and they were looking for some players for their basketball team, and they spotted me by sheer luck as I was being raced through the streets by my mates in a Tesco shopping trolley. They'd heard about me, they'd seen me in the newspapers because I tried to do a sponsor walk for my school, and they wanted me to play for their team. They pulled up in their Sunshine Variety bus and asked me if I'd like to play wheelchair basketball. I used to walk at the time on calipers, and I thought, how was I supposed to play wheelchair basketball? And I didn't know how people in wheelchairs could play sport anyway. But they convinced me to go to a place called Stoke Mandeville. I went there, I saw some guys from the Great Britain team playing, and I was absolutely blown away by like the skills and the chairs, and I just thought they looked cool. And that was it. So the rest is history, as they say.
So do you think the awareness now has got a lot better than...
Completely. I mean, when I was 14, I hadn't heard of wheelchair sports. You know, I hadn't heard of the Paralympics. I didn't even think there was... I always wanted to play sport. I played football at school on my calipers, on my feet. I played in goal. And I've always thought if I was going to compete in sport, I was going to have to compete against able-bodied athletes. So it was a complete shock. Whereas now, I think most people, if you go out on the street, you can ask 10 people, and I'd say 8 or 9 out of 10 of those people will know what the Paralympics are. So yeah, it's changed, and it's changed really well, and hopefully our profile can shoot up even more.
So have you seen participation rates? Have you seen that flourish?
Yeah, I think it fluctuates. It goes up and down, and you know the Paralympics definitely helps. Every time there's a big major sporting event, suddenly there's an influx of kids coming in. I think what we've got now, what we've been able to do better now than we did in the past, is encourage more youngsters to play wheelchair sports. You know, at a younger age. You know, I started playing wheelchair sports when I was 14. Now you're getting kids playing wheelchair sports at 7, 6, 5. I mean, that's brilliant. Because, you know, by the time, you know, they're 15, they would have been playing for 10 years, you know, 25, they would have been playing for 20 years, you know, and so that's a wealth of experience that they can have, and you know, it just brings the level of the sport up higher and higher.
What's your role as an ambassador for 2012 then?
My role as an ambassador for London 2012 is to just promote Paralympic and Olympic sport. You know, try and build up the Olympic fever, use my knowledge, my experience, and pass it on to the next generation. You know, so as we build up to 2012, people get more and more excited, you know, about what's going to be the greatest sporting event that this country has ever seen. You know, a lot of people watch it on TV. You know, you might have spoken to a few people who have competed in the Paralympics or Olympics, but until it comes to this country, people will not understand the size of the games. You know, you're going to have in the Paralympics 5,000 plus of the best athletes in the world. In the Olympics, 8,000 plus the best athletes in the world, all in this country competing, breaking records, you know, and changing the whole landscape of sport. We're going to be building some of the best stadiums and sports facilities in the world, you know, and it will change the landscape of sport here. Now, after 2012, kids in the next generation will be able to say, you know, I want to go and learn to swim. There'll be Olympic swimming pools for them to learn to swim. There'll be more tennis courts. There'll be more running tracks, and not just that, not just the facilities. There'll also be more people with the knowledge to be able to coach them and take them and make Britain great.
Do you think there'll definitely be a sudden rise of people in wheelchairs, disabled people playing sport?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, seeing the sport on the TV and seeing some of the best athletes, seeing what they can do, it's just going to help to inspire people to want to play. And it's not just young people. You know, you've also got war veterans. You know, we've been unfortunate enough to have had, you know, 2 Iraq wars and Afghanistan war, and there's a lot of casualties out there who probably have come back, you know, with lost limbs, paralysis from spinal cord injuries, thinking that that their life is over, you know, and they'll get an opportunity. They'll see some top athletes playing basketball, playing tennis, swimming, and all of that, and think, hold on a sec, you know, here's a chance, you know, here's a second chance for me to go out there and change my life. So, no, I think participation will definitely shoot up in all levels.
What have you found? Have you spoken to like a couple of the young players here? What have you found about their sort of ambition, their drive? You know.
Yeah, I think what I like about them now is they're all very hungry, you know, and they're all hungry because they've seen that, you know, if you're successful in wheelchair sports, you know, you've got a chance to increase your profile, you know, you've got a chance to get respect. And I think one of the biggest things that disabled people want, you know, not just disabled athletes, but disabled people want, is respect. And I think that's what you get when people see you on the TV and see the things that you can achieve, and see that, God, these guys can play tennis better than most able-bodied people, and these guys can play basketball better than most able-bodied people. You get respect, and that's what I see from these kids. You know, they're up there, they've got their heads high, and they're confident, and it's brilliant.
Have you seen a lot more youngsters here today than you did last year, or are you seeing more numbers?
I've been to a few wheelchair tennis camps. The Tennis Foundation and all the guys in wheelchair tennis have kind of got me on board because of my profile to go to these tennis camps. And I've seen a lot of youngsters coming in and wanting to play, and a lot of talented youngsters, very, very young, you know, like 9, 10, 11 years old, coming in, rackets are bigger than them, and playing. And you know, for me, that's just, it's just brilliant. It is just brilliant because, as I said, you know, I didn't discover wheelchair sport till I was 14, you know, and only by luck. And now these guys, they're coming in and they're playing and they're loving it, and it's all they think about day and night.
Yeah, I spoke to that Phil Cochrane.
Yeah, Phil Cochrane.
Cochrane, yeah, and he's a very good player, and he's beaten you a few times. Do you mind losing it to 16-year-old?
He's all right. He knows that if he came on the basketball court, it'd be all over it. Do you know what I mean? But Phil's a talented player. I mean, he's been playing. He's another one of these kids that's been playing since he was like 7, 8 years old. You know, so okay, he's only 16, but he's probably got 5, 6 years on me in experience, which means a heck of a lot. But he can play basketball as well. I mean, he could probably put his hand to anything, you know. And he's one of the bright stars for this country in the future if he can stay focused and stay motivated.
Right. Okay. That's great.
Cool. No worries.
Thank you.